Hello, people from around the universe! I am your host, the Italian Ace, and sorry for not uploading for a while, but it was a pretty busy couple of weeks, not gonna lie. And actually, all of last week I was busy with a bottom dance competition, something which I mentioned on my second channel, where I cover everything that has to do with Fairy Tail, which you should check out if you're interested in that. But anyway, because I was there and competing, I didn't have time to record or edit anything, but at least one, I won the gold medal in my all-around category, which thank you. Yes, thank you so much. And two, it was really fun. Plus, now I get to go back to recording at a normal schedule, so look forward to that. Anyway, today we are talking about the upcoming games Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. And more specifically, one feature that I think they absolutely must add, not just to these games, but to Pokemon games in general. So, I hope you're excited for the video. Do let me know what you think of my idea, and let me know if you have any other suggestions for things that they could add to Pokemon games. And let's just jump right in. But of course, before we get to any of that, cue my intro. Okay, so first off, I think we can all agree that Pokemon games are pretty great. And if you don't agree, then I would question why you're watching this video, but hey, as long as you're watching, I'm not complaining. Regardless, I think we can also all agree that Pokemon games aren't perfect either. I mean, there's definitely a couple things that they could either fix, or add, or change in some way to improve the experience even more. This could range from anything from the story being made more interesting, to the characters being more fleshed out, to really just about anything you can think of, even just some minor gameplay improvements like the ones that we've been getting in the past couple generations. But I do think that there's one feature that stands out above the rest, and that is voice acting. What do I mean by this? Well, basically, I think that Pokemon, especially with it being an RPG, would greatly benefit from having voice acting in all of its cutscenes, much like a game like, let's say, Fire Emblem does in their cutscenes. And actually, the Fire Emblem example is pretty fitting because those games started even earlier than Pokemon, and because of when they started, they also didn't have voice acting from the beginning. I mean, voice acting in every console game in the 90s would have been unthinkable. Still, fast forward 20 plus years, 30 plus from where we are right now, but 20 plus from when they started fully using voice acting in the games, and I think those games became a lot more interesting in terms of their story just from this addition alone. Don't get me wrong, I love the old Fire Emblem games as well. In fact, one of my favorites from that series is Binding Blade, which doesn't have any voice acting. But I do firmly believe that one of the reasons why my favorite Fire Emblem game of all time is Three Houses is because of how excellent the voice acting is and how it works so well with the story. I think it really helps give each character even more of an identity, and when it's such a character-driven plot like Three Houses was, it would be not nearly as good, in my opinion, if it didn't have voice acting for all of the main characters. I mean, I played through that game multiple times doing all of the different routes, and I basically had in my mind all the voices for Edelgard and Claude and Dimitri and Rhea and everyone, because you start to identify them with those characters and it helps you with remembering them more, thus making the game as a whole a more memorable experience. And again, Pokemon was first released basically 6 years after the first Fire Emblem game, so right now in 2022 would be about the same distance of time from the first Pokemon game being released to the first Pokemon game to fully feature voice acting. So I think it would be a pretty good point in the Pokemon timeline to add this feature. And besides, I think we can all agree that one of the biggest problems for the recent Pokemon games is just how long those cutscenes feel, and the fact that you can't skip them at all just makes it so that whenever you play through them again, you feel like you're kind of stuck there just watching the same thing over and over, which you've already seen a couple times, and you don't really care anymore, but you still can't do anything about it, so it overall just ends up detracting from the game's experience instead of adding to it. And I firmly believe that one of the reasons why we dislike those cutscenes so much is because there's no voice acting in them, so once you've seen them once, they've already lost all of their appeal because they're only there to drive the story forward, not necessarily be interesting in and of themselves. Now, there are some exceptions, of course. One that sticks out in my mind is when Rayquaza comes down in Pokemon Emerald to stop Ground and Kyogre from fighting. And it's actually a pretty simple cutscene, at least for today's standards, maybe not for the time. But I still remember just having that blow my mind when I first saw it as a kid. Another cool cutscene that I remember is the one for Ultra Necrozma, or even just the ones for Solgaleo and Lunala. And I think Eternatus also has a very epic feeling cutscene when you first see it. So I'm not saying that Pokemon doesn't have any good cutscenes, but a lot of the ones that are very dialogue heavy do start to drag after a while. And again, I think this is because there's no voice accompanying them. I mean, let me put it to you this way. Would you rather watch a video of me where I do this? Where I basically don't really show a lot of different emotions as I'm going through my intro or anything in the video, and just kind of keep the same expression while moving my mouth sporadically, not really in sync with any word or sound? Or would you rather have something like what you're watching right now, where I'm emoting through my voice and my expressions and my hand gestures because I'm Italian, and it's just a lot more engaging? I hope. And hey, if you really do want to see the type of video that I described as the first example, let me know. Maybe I'll make a random short of it and just have fun with it, I guess. But I think you understand my point. I mean, basically every single big game that's released in the past 5 years has had voice acting in some capacity. And the fact that Pokemon, an RPG of all things, doesn't have that just doesn't sit well with me. Besides, Pokemon is my favorite franchise of all time, so of course I wanted to do as well as possible. And I think that adding voice acting could get even more people interested and invested in Pokemon games, which could mean an even longer lifespan for the Pokemon franchise, which would make me happy, and I'm sure would make all of you happy, and would make the world happy, because Pokemon is wonderful, and the more people can see that, the better it is. So yes, if I had to pick one single feature to add to the new Gen 9 games, it would 100% be voice acting. Unfortunately, there's no way that either A, anyone at Game Freak sees this video, and B, even if they do, the game is probably already mostly done, so it's not like they would change it and add voice acting because some random guy on YouTube said so. I mean, maybe they would think about adding it in the next game, which would still be great, but if it's not planned for Scarlet and Violet, it's not getting added. I mean, there's just no way. But that is it for us today. And like I said before, we will be back to a more normal uploading schedule, since the one that I've had for the past month was greatly influenced by the competition. Not just last week, but even the weeks prior to it, as I was practicing for said competition by dancing even more than usual. But again, it was a great experience, so I don't regret it one bit. At the same time though, I am very happy to be back to normal YouTube stuff, because I want to share all of my crazy ideas with anyone who wants to listen, because, I don't know, it's fun. Although I don't think this particular video classifies as a crazy idea. I think this is a very sound idea, and I hope that it gets implemented as soon as possible. Regardless, I hope you have a great day. If you want to see more Pokemon content, then do consider subscribing. and I hope to see you all in the next video. But until then, remember to follow the way of the ace. See ya!